table.
Definitely not have one. Oh, I mean, I'll tell you what. I did stay a little while into the credits in Force Awakens, but that was just because I was listening to John Williams' amazing score. For Rogue One, as great as Michael Giacchino is, I wasn't compelled to stay around to listen to the score because it's not as good as John Williams.
Yeah, I'd say that score was forgettable as fuck.
When it got Star Wars, like when it had elements of Star Wars in it, it was good. But then it was it was forgettable as fuck, like you say.
No.
And it was also used really badly, I thought. Like, in some places it didn't fit. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
I think he'd written the music for the original film before the reshoots, and, like, they didn't bring him back to do new music.
Well, apparently he only had a month to actually do the score.
Really? Only a month?
Yeah.
You know what? Forgive him everything, then.
I mean, like, I bought the soundtrack to Rogue One because I like to own all the Star Wars soundtracks, and it definitely has a couple of soundtrack, like, pieces in there. You're like, yeah, this is hitting that, you know, it's hitting that Star Wars feel, but the majority of them are like, nah.
I don't know, it was really strange choices that film made.
It's strange. I love his music usually. Like, if you listen to his music for, like, the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek film, like, there's some really good pieces in there.
Didn't he do Doctor Strange as well, this guy?
He did, yeah. He does a lot of films. Like, he did Star Trek Beyond, all the sequels. Like, he did the music for Lost back in the day, and that music was phenomenal for a television show. Like, that was film-esque music, like, when TV was just still probably using synthesizers. But it was at least all computer-generated, maybe MIDI files or something.
So I guess this will start our Rogue One talk, complain about the music, which is, I'm pretty sure, one of the many things we'll complain about. Now, before we start into this, I just want to introduce who's all here. We, of course, have me. We have Mitch.
What's up?
We have Joe. Well, Joe's in the call, but I guess he's not here. Maybe he's tuning out.
Joe's dead.
We also have Tom.
Hey, guys.
And Tristan.
Spoilers, A New Hope spoiled the whole movie 39 years ago.
Damn them.
So did the trailer when it showed the opening scroll for A New Hope. Like, technically all that did was spoil the entire movie in the trailer, but nobody calls that shit out.
So,
spoilers, they live.
Here's the thing, right?
Yeah, that would be a spoiler if they actually lived.
Like, I said this before and I'll say it again. This is by no means the best Star Wars movie. It's far from it.
It's the best Star Wars prequel.
It's still my favorite
enjoyable.
Star Wars movie. Like, because it's the one I've always wanted to see. I want to see the war and them just kind of, you know, what I didn't want lightsabers. That's really what I wanted from Star Wars all along, and I finally got that. Other than obviously the one Vader scene, but that was kind of a needed scene, so I'm okay with it.
I mean, we just want lightsabers used sparingly because the prequels just overused them so much. Like the original, A New Hope, there's like what 3, maybe 4 lightsaber shots in it.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, though, the Jedi were all there back then, so you would think there was tons of lightsabers. So that doesn't
tons of lightsabers certainly spinning them around.
They need to.
Yeah, okay, but that's a different thing. Tom didn't say about spinning them around. He said about having a bunch of them. So that's what I'm saying. There's a bunch of them, but I mean, what me and Mitch were talking before, though, and saying that
episode 1, though.
I think when a lot of people say they love this movie, they really love the third act, and I know I really love the third act.
It's the best third act in a Star Wars movie.
It's so
even
if it
does have some problems, and I really hate the problems I have with it. But outside.
But it also does the thing that I really like from Return, where 3 things are happening at the same time in the action, and they all kind of interact with each other.
But
they go with each other.
It also screams of the entire third act. That battle is completely tacked on. I don't think that was in the original script at all.
I the third act. Because they had all the Black Hawk down and like Hurt Locker people come on for that third act.
I mean, like the space battle feels like that was added on in towards the end, because it's like it feels a little out of place, especially if you watch the trailers where they're like running with the plants and stuff. It goes kind of against.
Well, to be fair, if you watch the trailers, they go against the movie completely because those scenes don't match the context. Of
they reshot a shit ton.
There's that one scene that I really wish would have been in it when they were running through, like when one of the bases, and then you see like on the other side, all the stormtroopers are running, and they're just like trying to hide from them.
That was Canary Wharf tube station.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
everyone in England knows that tube station really well, and it's so recognisable.
Like, they did such a good job with that station, just like covering the.
It looks great.
Everything. It looks so good.
I wish, I don't know, there's something that, like, in that first teaser, I wish were in the movie, because some of it looked cool, and I would have liked it, but, I mean, that's one of the things I never asked for something like this, where they just shoot something completely different for the teaser, and then something else is in the movie, because that's a way of not having spoilers, I guess.
Yeah, but that wasn't by choice. That was
I know, it was the reshoots and all that.
Yeah, and it's a shame. Like, it's funny that one of the scenes that people keep pointing to is where she's on the railing thing and the TIE fighter comes up in front of her. And
yeah, that was
like that shot was in the movie. They just added a TIE fighter for the trailer. Maybe
that TIE fighter was supposed to be in the movie. They took it out because it was too similar to when the X-wing, because there's an X-wing was supposed to take out that TIE fighter.
But she didn't react to it at all when it came up. Like,
but you then look at what they've got in the movie, and she's like hobbling along with that gun. It's like, why have you got the gun out? There's nothing there.
Just
like originally, it was supposed to be the TIE fighter comes up and the X-wing takes it out, and they took that scene out because it was too similar to when the X-wing takes out the AT-ACT.
Oh yeah.
In a movie that deals in nostalgia and redoing different moments in various ways, like in a franchise that's notorious for that, why would they take something out for being too similar? That's exactly what they trade on, mate. That would be.
That's just what I've heard. Like, it's, plus it's like it was like 5 minutes.
I don't know. I believe it, but at the same time, I'm like, that kind of goes against a lot of logic that Disney's been using with this series.
I don't know if anybody else felt the same way, but I felt the first 2 acts were pretty rushed. Well,
yeah. The first 2 acts are basically Suicide Squad.
Honestly, I don't feel that the first 2 acts are rushed. I feel the first act is fucking rushed. Like, you jump between 4 or 5 planets in a matter of 25 minutes. And, like, it was even jarring to me. And, like, I read, like, all the books that they're releasing, the new canon and stuff. And I was like, what the fucking slow the fuck down, movie? Like...
Yeah. The second act I actually really enjoyed. I liked the whole bit looking for her father and how he was going to kill him. Like that stuff I enjoyed. Like the first act, as you say, it was Suicide Squad. It was scene to scene to scene to scene very, very quickly.
I'm pretty sure there's another movie that's done that, but I like that we just say it's
Suicide Squad without it.
But that's because it's the most recent one. It sticks out.
Yeah, I know.
It's exactly the same. And like the characters is no different than Suicide Squad.
The first J.J. Abrams Star Trek does the same thing. To be fair. Although
I was thinking like
because there's heartwarming, gut-wrenching moments in the first moment.
I know it's the most recent one, but honestly, I can't remember a movie that does something like that, which is, I'm wondering, like, I know there's a movie out there that's probably did that. I just don't know.
There's loads.
I know, but I just don't know. I just can't remember it at this moment. So that's
Doctor Strange.
See, like, even though with all that jumping around, though, right? Like, I wish they would have spent a little more time on the actual planet. Like, oh, look, the speeder is going by this giant Jedi... statue that's been crashed. And, the planet Jedha, that's, like, supposed to be one of the first 5 planets that was occupied by the Jedi. So it's, like, along with Tython and all that. And I wanted a little more back history on that. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, this is just kyber crystals, man. We just need that shit because they're highly concentrated. I'm like, no. Explain the myth. And they just kind of gloss over that. Like,
they kind of do. They gloss over it, but at the same time, they do kind of allude to what the kyber crystals are. Like, she has it around her neck, like she prays and all that. It's kind of like you can kind of see what they're meant for. Like, the Force is a religion in this universe.
They do mention that making lightsabers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they do actually say that.
She kind of explained it when she said her father said that kyber crystals were used for the lightsabers. So,
Armin, I don't know if you read that book. Catalyst, the one that's
I'm reading it right now.
Yeah, me too. So I was apparently it's supposed to give you so much backstory to it, to all this and whatnot. And people said it could have been used as the crawl. I mean, I guess it could have been used as a crawl, but I don't know. I don't really care too much about a crawl. I don't know if y'all care.
This movie needed a crawl. It absolutely needed a crawl. It just
do people actually read it?
Yeah, everyone reads the crawl.
See, like,
really? I feel like some people just can't read that quick. I feel like it's too quick.
If you didn't read the crawl in The New Hope, you wouldn't know what the fuck's going on.
With the crawl, though, like, I always think it goes too slowly. Like, I always find that I'm reading it, then I'm waiting for the next line. Like, it's almost annoying. Like, I know they do it slow, like, especially there's kids in the audience who definitely aren't reading the crawl. I didn't read the crawl as a kid watching Star Wars for the first time.
Well, I don't know, like, because like this movie is literally the first 2 paragraphs of the crawl from A New Hope, so it's like, like, I mean, did you guys ever see that like fan mock-up style thing that someone made of how Rogue One should open? And it's like, so it's the crawl from A New Hope, right? And essentially it starts and it's scrolling up, and when it says steal the rebel plans, it starts facing towards you and zooming in, and then you hear war screams and like sound clips from the movie, and then it just fades into the movie. I think that honestly would have fucking worked way better than just a cold open.
That was the Comic-Con or the Star Wars Celebration.
Yep, that was it,
opening, wasn't it? Like they just retook that as the opening of the movie. They totally should have done that.
They should have.
I've forgotten all about. I remember the teaser, but I hadn't heard that someone's edited it like that. That sounds perfect.
Yeah,
because
why didn't they do that?
That actually makes the tone of the movie match the trailers as well.
Yeah,
because the trailer tone is not the same as what we actually got. It's like,
well, what do you mean by like trailer tone was a little bit?
You go back and watch all the trailers and the teasers. The tone is completely different.
I mean, I would still say
it's a lot darker.
I would still say it's still serious though in the movie.
Because it's still, well, you can have a serious movie in a completely different tone. Like, you know, you can have a comedy movie and like the 2 tones are different. Like,
I wouldn't say that it's technically so.
Go back and watch it.
I'll say it's different, but just not completely different. Because I still don't think it. I don't think it's that light as some people are saying.
I'm not saying it's light. I'm just saying it's complete. Like the tones are different.
When you say it's completely different from a dark tone, you're saying it's basically light.
I've seen all the trailers, and this movie is exactly what I was expecting, pretty much.
No, it's completely different to me.
I don't know. I feel like
I was expecting more Vader.
No, I didn't want more Vader.
I actually expected less Vader than we got. I thought he was just going to be a quick cameo. Like, and what I was actually super surprised. They go to Mustafar. I was like, whoa. Like they try not to acknowledge the prequels as much as possible. So
but Jimmy Smits was in the movie. That's one of my favorite things.
So was
Yeah,
he was the only one that's kind of it works because he was younger back then in the prequels, and then he got older. You know, everybody else had to have CG because he was the only one that kind of worked for that.
No, don't mention the CG. Oh God!
Do you know, I just took Leia and Tarkin for what they were.
I tried, but it's so distracting.
It is. I don't remember what they were talking about in those scenes. I remember she said hope.
That's all she said. And everyone's just hoping this movie.
Yeah, but I don't remember anything Tarkin said except fire and ready. Like that, and that did make me smile. That shot was perfect. That moment was perfect.
I thought they used too much Tarkin.
Yeah, Tarkin should have just been where he had the reflection of his face.
Everyone's been saying that. Yeah, the moment I walked out of the theater, it was the first thing I said. It's literally the first thing everyone's saying.
Because like the actual model itself is fine, but their lighting was way off.
Yeah.
That's the first.
He looked too sharp.
He looked too much like Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty.
No, it's
like the lighting was completely different on an actual person compared to him. And it's just like, why has this guy got shadows but you've got highlights? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like his cheekbones were like a little too defined, and like I think that's the part that most stood out of him. Like there was way too many shadows being cast. It's like when you're standing somewhere where there's like orange lighting and like it's like beams going around and they cast all these weird shadows. That's what his face looked like.
Yeah.
Like it's like, ooh, but I mean, I really liked his inclusion because it kind of explains stuff.
It was necessary. He had to be there, and I'm glad he was because it actually makes his character.
I honestly think like one of the best aspects of him being included is when they're like, no one's going to know about the Death Star because we're scrubbing it from the records. Like, it doesn't exist because we can rewrite history for the Empire. I'm like, ooh, that's good, you know? Like,
plus, as they demonstrated, they can hide it pretty fucking effectively. Like, when it's in the shadow, like, it just looks like a starfield. You don't notice it. Like, only when light is a bit on it, you realise, oh, those are actually windows. Like, it was amazing how many shots looked just like it was a starfield, and then as the light came over, you realise, actually, there's a ship there, like... Yeah, they can hide a Death Star pretty effectively.
Like one thing I do like about this movie is how they paint the rebels, where it's this whole gray area. You don't really know who's good and who's bad, and how some things are like where some people don't necessarily agree with doing necessities to freeing the rest of the galaxy from the Empire. because
I'll talk
they're killing people.
Yeah,
I'll talk no action. That's why it's like I very much loved when all of them, the soldiers were just like, we're here with you. We're gonna go. And I was like, yeah,
I
let's
can't
go do
believe
this.
it was even a discussion. Like,
I can believe that's war stuff. That's
I think you think like, how long have they been fighting the Empire for?
Do we fight one last time and possibly die, or do we just disband and like the rebellion is done? That is go home or fight.
No, but that's war stuff. Like that's believable.
That's believable and reasonable because they don't want to die for a losing cause.
Yeah, it's so much believable, which is why I love it.
If there's a chance. If there's a chance.
That's your type of thinking, though. You got to think like there's other types.
If they didn't have that, if they had that mentality, you wouldn't have gotten A New Hope.
Yeah. They needed hope, I guess. Yeah, and as an audience member, I felt the hope already. That just comes with Star Wars.
I really loved the. I mean, Tristan hit upon it, the war feeling of the movie, the gray area. And it's not black and white, like the other movies, like the original trilogy, Force Awakens and all that, where they were very black and white, in my opinion. And
the characters were very bland, but I wish more than anything we'd seen more of Forrest Whitaker's character. I know he's in Clone Wars and he's going to be in Rebels, but I want to see more from him.
With this literally proves my point of why you shouldn't cross over the Marvel universe. Like, why the TV
100% agree.
It's like I didn't
just
have
seeing the ghost was enough. Like,
I don't.
The fact that it was there is pretty cool.
But you get that because you've watched this. But like Forrest Whitaker's character, I have no idea what the fuck that is. He's just a pointless guy there.
I don't know.
It sounds like a personal problem, Mitch. You got to watch.
It's a personal problem. But like, if you want to go for a general audience, like,
I don't care if they're going for general audience. I just want them to please.
Because let's face it, in the movie, he stops everything. The movie stops just to have Forrest Whitaker, and then he just stands there and dies. Like, what? Why?
I think he should have been in the final act. Like, he had no reason to die there. He should have fought one last time and died with the rest of them.
Yeah.
Clearly, he was more important than the movie kind of informed us that he was, and of course he's going to be in the show. But I mean, and I'm going to watch his part in the show and stuff like that, and I'm going to read the book, and I mean, it appeases me, so I don't hate it. But I know for people who don't read all that stuff and watch
every time you watch him now on the show, though, you're going to know that in the end he dies having just given up standing in his home.
Yeah, he's supposed to be this extremist of the rebellion. He just stands there like a bitch.
I mean, I guess they're trying to go for like the captain going down with the ship vibe with him.
Yeah, that's.
And I agree with like what you're saying 100%. This was my kind of like, wait a minute, onto something here, because it's like I went and saw what a bunch of people, because I was there premiere night, all dressed up like I was invited, and like. And after the movie, we're all standing around talking. I was like, oh, man, Saw Gerrera, he sure went out. And everybody kind of looked at me like, who the fuck is Saw Gerrera? I was like, stroke eye. And then everybody knew who I was talking about.
He's the guy with the walking hentai porn.
Because literally, I couldn't say freaking Forrest Whitaker because some of the people don't know the actors. And they were like, well, do you think we're going to see him again? At this point, we kind of heard that he's probably going to appear on Rebels. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, they're going to flesh him out on Rebels. And everybody was like, I don't watch that shit. I was like, oh.
You'd be like, that's a personal problem. You should watch it.
I'm like, so
why should I have to watch like 3 years of a?
Well, you don't have to watch it.
No, apparently I do because they're doing this now. Like, I have to watch and read everything just to keep up with it. It's like, I'm not doing that. Fuck off. I'm thanks for a movie.
You don't have
to. Got no time to read.
If you don't want to keep up with it, you don't have to watch all that.
Well, I do have to watch it because
that's if you want to keep up with it, though. That's if you want to keep up with it. Not everybody wants to keep up with everything. They just want to watch the movies.
But see, that's where we run into that problem where if you don't keep up and you're kind of like paying attention somewhat, you're losing the effect of the overall story, right? Like imagine like those people, like when I went and saw obviously the first Avengers, right? There was people who never saw the first Avenger, and they were like, "Who the fuck is Captain America?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like
I knew someone who didn't even see any of the movies before the first Avengers. Yep. They just saw the Avengers movies. They just saw Avenger and Age of Ultron.
Loads of people did. That's why it made so much money.
Yeah, like they. I mean. Even with those type of movies, you kind of need to see the movies before.
But see, it's like...
I mean, you technically don't. I mean, people just go watch them.
Right, and that's a big problem with, like the DC, universe. They're trying to do their own only movies, right? Marvel is like, well, we got the movies and the TV shows. Star Wars now is like, the TV shows, the comics, the books, they're all canon to one thing now, and everything's so structured. It's like...
It's too much.
It is too much.
I get what you're saying in the sense that it is too much, or it's spread out everywhere. But I personally, as a fan of it, love that.
Oh, I love it, but I think as a general audience,
and
people
I don't
get
have to
lost.
worry about the general audience. I'm not Disney. I can love this stuff already. I don't care what the general audience.
Yes, you kind of do have to care about the general audience. If they keep doing this and the general audience don't actually go out and watch everything, they're not going to watch the movie. So therefore, the movies make less money. Therefore, Disney just stops making movies. Therefore, you have no Star Wars.
Well, we'll see that when it happens, when they make less than 100 million opening weekend, and I don't think that's gonna happen.
Fucking never.
Maybe I'm just easy to please, but just knowing that he's a character from Clone Wars, having not even seen it, it made me smile. Like seeing that. Does that just make me easy to please, or do these references can they just be a quick?
All right, this is the test. Did you like the R2D2 and C3PO cameo?
Nope.
Yes.
Nope. I
actually did. I thought though they should have been in the final bit of the movie, like when we saw Leia, like they should have been with her.
See,
because
that would have been fine.
Knows everything. R2D2 knows like a new Hope. He knows he's supposed to go to Obi-Wan.
Why doesn't he tell C3PO at the start of A New Hope? He's walking around like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, yes, you do. We're fucking there.
Remember, R2D2's like, follow me, basically, and then they go into the thing. They go find Obi-Wan Kenobi. He knows all this stuff, like, but he can't really talk.
Only because Leia told him.
Yeah, like, C-3PO is kind of just like guessing, like every
he doesn't believe him at all.
No, because he's there. He should know what's going on. So why does he ask?
I think maybe why they're there. I think R2D2 is a higher rank than C-3PO, and he has information.
He knows everything, like everything that happened in the prequels. He still knows. He knows.
But here's the thing, though, like we have him in the movie, right? And he's only there for a glorified cameo. And you know he's going to have a goddamn cameo in Han Solo also. Because it's like one constant that they have to... Like, they had cameos in Rebels and all that. They have cameos in everything new Star Wars. It's like, I don't need that because it feels forced. Like, they didn't need to be on Yavin 4 for 2 seconds so everybody can go, okay, move along. Like, it distracted me from the movie.
Weren't they given to one of the
R2
fighters?
Even had a cameo in Star Trek.
Wasn't the end of Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan gave these two droids to one of the fighters? I think it might have been Wedge, and then... Or not Wedge, but it might have been someone that...
Did they give them to Jimmy Smits?
No, they gave them to someone else. They cleaned C-3PO, but they never cleaned off R2-D2.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, but they do give them to one of, a fighter or someone like who's a pilot, and I think it might have been like Wedge's pops or something.
But that still doesn't explain why C-3PO was literally on that ship as it took off in that hallway that Vader nearly got into, and he's 5 minutes later goes, "What's going on?"
Because they're going to scare him. Doesn't tell him. He's like, if C-3PO knows that he was made by Darth Vader, maybe he's just going to lose his fucking mind. He's like, I better not tell him just to save his sanity.
I still think that C-3PO doesn't even know what R2-D2 is saying. I just think he kind of guesses most of the time.
What he's saying, he's actually there. He doesn't need R2 to tell him.
Yeah, but when C-3PO, I think when he says what is happening, I think what is happening right there, what like someone is boarding the ship, but he's like, what is happening? There's so much, there's guns being shot and everything, and then R2-D2 just like, follow me real quick, and then they go into the little pod, and then they go all the way to find Obi-Wan, basically.
It just reminds me of that Robot Chicken sketch where, I think it was Robot Chicken, where Darth Vader sees C-3PO, is like, 3PO? Oh my god, I've been looking for you everywhere. 3PO.
I just think in my mind, I need to go back to watch it, but from what I remember, it doesn't really affect too much of how A New Hope starts off.
Well, it does, because Leia tells Vader they're on a diplomatic mission.
Yeah. Don't see that's like you said, your hand is in the cookie jar, but you're blaming the dog. Like she probably knows, but she's still saying, I'm on a diplomatic mission, because she just has to keep playing it off so R2-D2 can leave. She has to keep distracting Vader so R2-D2 can leave.
That's their cover. Like they have to have a cover story.
Yeah. But there's no cover story because they both know what just fucking happened 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, but she's not just going to be like, oh, you caught me.
Okay, Mitch. Don't worry, because there's going to be a one-shot issue in 3 years that deals with exactly those 15 minutes between the two movies that tells you how her mind was scrubbed somehow due to believing in the Force. And you have to read this shit to connect the two, so wait 3 years and the movie will get better at the end of it.
there's a deleted scene that shows that she was actually on a different ship, and the Leia scene was supposed to come later.
So we can just make a good movie.
Oh, and before people like
a little bit excessive,
because I know people are gonna complain that I'm complaining about the movie. Remember, this is my favorite Star Wars movie, but I'm being the critic where I'm telling you what the fuck is wrong with it. Because it's okay to like movies to have problems. I'm just telling you right now.
Star Wars prequel.
I fucking love this movie.
Well, no, it's the only Star Wars prequel.
I wouldn't say it's the only Star Wars. We have to acknowledge
like Revenge of the Sith.
If we don't like them.
I still like Revenge of the Sith. I know people who like Clone Wars.
More like Revenge of the shit.
I do want to watch Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and then New Hope back to back, and just see how that trilogy runs.
No, I don't know about Revenge of the Sith. I want to watch Rogue One and the New Hope.
I want to watch Revenge of the Sith as well, because that's got the beginning of the Death Star and the Peter Cushing mask. So technically, it does.
Yeah, but it's like 30 years before, though.
It doesn't matter. Either that, or it connects to just before the childhood of Jyn.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still only 10 years before she was born, at least.
I just think it's 30 years before, where it's like, to me, it doesn't matter as much as opposed to Rogue One and New Hope, where they're literally, I mean, the last act's like maybe a couple hours before.
Look, here's the thing: Felicity Jones has got a sequel in her contract, so they're gonna make another film.
They're not gonna make.
I'm saying she's gonna have a small role as part of like Han Solo.
Yeah. That I could see that being in the past, because she died. She can't. Make another film.
Just because she died doesn't mean you can't make a prequel.
Well, unless she was like in a hologram or something like that.
How old is young Han Solo then? Because this movie ends a day before.
He's not old at all.
Han Solo's supposed to take place. I think the movie's supposed to take place.
How young is Felicity Jones supposed to be? Like 12?
Well, you think there was 16 years from the start of the.
When is Han Solo even supposed to start? That's why.
How old is Felicity Jones supposed to be in Rogue One? Is the question, I suppose.
Well, she was 16 when she met Saw Gerrera.
She wasn't. That is not 16 at the beginning of the movie.
No, not
I thought she left when she was 16.
Right, she left when she was 16.
And then she was on her own for a long time. And then she's picked up within a week. She's done.
There's probably a good 20 years from the start of her life until Rogue One.
I thought she was like 30.
If you say she's 20, say she's 25.
I thought she was 30.
Han Solo movie is another 20 years before. That still makes her 15 for young Han Solo. How's she going to play?
Okay, so here we go. She's 22 years old at the time of the Battle of Yavin. So right as her death happened, she's 22.
Right.
What? That's 22?
So in young Han Solo, if it's like 10, 15 years before, she's going to be playing an 8-year-old? How's that going to work?
But the only time I can see it is if they meet up with Saw Gerrera and she's there with him. That's the only way.
It won't be Felicity Jones.
And here it is.
Well, no, of course not.
The Han Solo movie, from what Lawrence Kasdan, who's one of the big heads at Star Wars right now, has said, the Han Solo movie takes place 10 years prior to where we see him in his first appearance. So it's going to happen during...
She's 12.
If she's 22 in Rogue One, she's 12 in young Han Solo.
So that doesn't work. That's fine. Don't just digitally de-age her and she'll be like, let's go, Han!
I was going to say, we got a ghost walking around in Rogue One, so why not?
I thought it was just like one of those things that, I mean, all the big companies now, and Marvel does it a lot too, where they just sign people for multiple movies, but they won't necessarily...
I think it was but at the same time, she is the only one.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a misdirect.
Maybe they thought they were going to keep her alive at the end somehow.
Maybe that's the reshoot. Maybe she wasn't supposed to die.
Well, none of them were supposed to die, but they never filmed those scenes where they live.
Yeah, we'll see. There you go. That's
no, I love the death scenes when they just start.
No, they were not. I'm sorry.
I'm glad they all died. I'm
glad they all died,
and they all started to die one by one. I was like, this is kind of ballsy.
No, it's not ballsy because they had to happen. It's a safe bet.
Well, no, they can just pull the prequel shit and just say, well, they just weren't mentioned because they weren't mentioned.
I felt.
No, it's just a story. It's not ballsy. I'm sorry.
Well,
just killing them off.
K2 SO, because when he died, he was the one I kind of liked because he was always sarcastic with how
he had the best lines.
That's
script love.
Like when they're trying to enter where you said if we don't get the docking codes correct, we're all gonna die in the vacuum in space, and he goes, I'm not, I'll survive.
No, that moment when they throw a stormtrooper throws a grenade, I think it's a stormtrooper throws the grenade and he just catches it, throws it back, like, you're right, I should have stayed in the ship. I'll be back.
No, he had a blaster and he just shoots it. He shoots one of the stormtroopers.
No, he catches a grenade.
He throws the first time he gets.
Like in the first time, on Jedha, he catches a grenade, and then when he says, "You're right, I should be in the ship," and then he catches a grenade, throws it back. It's like,
that part was awesome.
Oh, I love that part. When you talked about the war feeling, that part on Jedha where the extremists come out and ambush the stormtroopers, the Empire, and then there's a little girl who's in the way who could die, and they throw grenades at that little tank. That felt so warish, and that's a side I'm not used to seeing in the Star Wars universe, especially
more specifically in that war feel further though, like. Everyone died. Going back to that quickly.
Well, it's that one and that other scene where once they used the Death Star on Jedha, like that when that whole planet or at least the wave of the Earth is coming after them. I was just like, "Oh, that's crazy! That I can't believe that's happening right now." Or
it was very.
We've seen worse.
It was great that it felt 70s in like the original Star Wars because it had very nuclear sort of themes to it, and they were still sort of coming out of like nuclear obsessed America.
I know they technically destroyed a planet, Mitch. Like in A New Hope, they basically destroy a planet, but it's just I guess the Leia, you don't really get the feeling from her. And also just from here, I guess it's because you're down in the ground with them, and then you see the planet about to engulf them. As it's being destroyed, the whole
planets weren't destroyed, which is why they weren't destroyed in like 5 seconds flat. Thankfully, like I was glad that. I mean, as much as I was just thinking, why not just destroy the whole planet? I like that they were like, we're not announcing that we can destroy entire planets yet. Let's just devastate it.
Yeah. Technically, they did kill the whole planet with the amount of debris going into the air,
but they didn't blow it out of the sky.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just saying that really felt, like, those scenes really felt the warish feel of the movie. And I get what you mean. They probably could have gone way more with that. And they kind of peel back a little bit and not go too far into it.
Yeah.
I was actually going to, sticking to the whole war theme of it, I really wish when they were doing the deaths that they actually showed more wars, like, style deaths. Like, at least have one of them, like, not want to die. And like actually like panicking and like scrambling for anything and then being killed off. Not everyone just like I'm gonna walk out and the force is going to protect me until a certain point.
I thought it was
I'm just gonna hold your hand and like die in the light.
I thought it was the pilot
the whole point.
I thought it was the
sort
pilot.
of, yeah. It sort of wasn't, but like the issue is like I would have liked that too until I think about it. It's like they knew it was a suicide mission, so they're like, kind of like, well, accept it, fuck it. But yeah, someone should have done a little bit more panicking, being like, fuck, and like just ran.
See, the pilot guy seemed a little bit more because he was panicking. He's like, oh my god, I got to do this before I freaking die or something.
He kind of like he had that grenade came in. It's just like, oh. Like there was nothing, like there's no scrambling. You just kind of like.
What else is he gonna do? Like
you just scramble to get out. Like at least show some emotion apart from
To me, that is kind of war where he's stunned.
Showing some emotion, if he wouldn't even need to like scramble out of it, he could have just dove on top of the bomb.
Yeah,
but I don't think that makes a difference.
No, it does because it just kind of I don't know. They all seem to have Disney deaths, and I hate using that term.
I know what you mean.
Everything was too happy and too perfect. It's like no, this trailer showed you to be this gritty Star Wars movie. I didn't get.
And to be fair, about the Donnie's character was blind, so he wouldn't really care if he died or not.
I mean,
talking of that character though, what did you think about his whole thing about the Force protecting him, and that's why the stormtroopers are bad shots?
He was my favorite character.
Yeah, I liked him because she still showed that blind faith he had in the Force, that it was protecting everyone. He never went against what he was taught.
It also gives the reason in A New Hope why the stormtroopers are such lousy shots, though, because like the Force is with Luke and the others. Like Obi-Wan said, the Force is with you, so you know.
Yeah.
They've always said the Force goes through every living thing.
Yeah, the Force is making them bad shots.
Yeah.
I actually really like that explanation too. So
it works so much better.
That he continued to say the prayer, and it does. It reminds me of the more religious people who just are so much on their faith in whatever they do, especially in a wartime. And it's just, I don't know, he was really it was him and K2 who were my favorites, really. And Cassian's cool sometimes, but not too much of him in the movie. But
yeah,
it's just, that character and how he just so much he believed in the faith of the Force and everything, and his staff and whatnot, how he was blind, he was still not blind, basically. I don't know. I wish we could have saw a little bit more of that, but I mean,
my favorite was
anyways.
My favorite just overall, because I thought they were gonna kind of flesh him out more. Unfortunately, they didn't. Maybe a book or comic probably will, but I really like the pilot. Like, yeah, it was cool. I like that he defected, and it's like you could kind of see the horrors of why, but I wish they would have went a little more into it. Of like, really what exactly did he see? You know, like, what dirty shit did he see?
I wanted to see so much more from him because he's a really solid actor. If anyone's seen Four Lions, he's great.
Yeah. He's also in the Night Of.
Amazing.
Just the HBO show. I don't know if anybody saw the HBO show Night Of. Like, that's a pretty good show. So he's in that show too. But yeah, I agree with you in the sense that, I mean, you see some of this war feeling that they had, but if they would have gone a little bit more full on it, maybe we would have saw something or he would have talked about what he saw. Maybe he saw something like interrogation or something that he didn't like and why he defected. And it's what happens in wartime. Some people do defect, and stuff like that. So I would have loved if they would. I still like the feeling that it had, but if it went more on it, that would have been even better. Wow. They would have been full. I mean, Mitch really wanted the gritty, like they promised him, but
same.
I get you. I still think it had enough of the feeling for
honestly,
me.
I think the part of the reshoots, because like I have the art book and stuff, and I've been looking through it and reading through it. There is a clear-cut moment, I think, when they showed the movie and they said, "Go back. Here's your 6 weeks to reshoot. Add more comedy. Do this. Don't show this," because the concept art clearly depicts a way darker war film, and I think if they would have lined them up, so you go episode 3, Rogue One, and New Hope, it would have been so dark that people would have been distracted by it. I think they had to conform to the style of A New Hope and Star Wars, and they went back and redid a bunch of it because it doesn't. It feels like a war film. And then it stops, and then it goes back to you're like, oh, here, and then it stops again. It's like, I wish it would have went full on with it.
But I'm not sure if it was like a tonal thing that made the reshoots, because you like take the Rebel meeting for example. Like in the trailers, they're telling us that they've recruited Jin, or they've taken Jin to push her into this mission. In the movie, Jin's still pushing the rebellion to get to do this mission. And it's kind of like, well, hang on, what's that like?
Jin's sort of turnaround was very strange. Like 1 minute she doesn't care, then she's fighting, telling them to care.
I thought she didn't even care about the rebels. She only really wanted to destroy the Death Star because they forced her dad to do it.
It was just
it's her father who told her.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like you had all this stuff before. It's like, I don't care about the rebellion. I do what I want. Then you have that one scene with the hologram, and then instantly afterwards, it's like, rebellion.
Yeah,
it's like,
because it's her father.
It went from like she didn't want to do anything to revenge to hope.
Yeah. See, if that was me and I had my father who I hadn't seen in so long that I didn't know he was even still alive. I thought he was dead, and he said something about this. I would have just been like, okay, I'm all in for this because.
See, I get what you're saying, but this what they need to do is actually have Jin be a character for people to buy that.
We just needed her to be a character. That's all.
I think it's just the sense that it's her father saying that gave me enough of it.
I understand what you're talking about, but there was nothing you didn't feel. Well, personally, I didn't feel for her in that moment. I don't sympathize with you wanting to do this now. It's kind of I didn't buy it. Well, I don't buy it now. So
I get a little bit
of
the...
He's my father. I better join the galaxy and rule it as father and son.
That's enough, just because a father and child thing is a good enough, I guess, not reasoning, but you know what I mean. Like it's good enough to go change what you're doing because.
Yeah, but to the extent she did, because she was all for the rebellion after that, and it's just like.
So Luke should just join Darth Vader after he finds out it's his father.
I mean, her father was good and just was forced to do that. I mean, Darth Vader's
but either way, she wasn't interested in going down that path. Luke wasn't interested in going down the path of the dark side.
So you say her father was good. Darth Vader died a good guy.
It's the end that he turns good. He wasn't good throughout the whole thing. Let's be honest. He was bad. But it's also the thing that Luke didn't really know his father. I mean, and
neither did she.
Yeah, she did. She grew up
for 5 years.
That's good enough.
That's enough in a child. She was like 8 years old. That
is, yeah. I think she was about it. That's enough for.
That is enough to have some kind of attachment to your father.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, that's a good age.
Well, she didn't have any because she didn't care about him.
She did. She thought he was dead because, like...
Yeah, she only cared about him after the hologram. Before that, she couldn't give a toss.
No, she said earlier in the film
she still kind of did. It's just that she said that she doesn't like it when people leave her.
Yeah, and she thought...
Didn't she say, though, that she hoped he was dead because otherwise she hates to think what the Empire would have been making him do? Like, she hopes he's dead.
And doing all this and being forced to do all that and then realize that they're gonna make a weapon and that he's kind of giving her this mission, because he can't do it, so he's kind of giving it to her. So it just wasn't enough for me.
So he's giving her this mission, but he doesn't actually tell her the details of what.
No, because they're looking through the messages. He had to code them.
Yeah, but Joe, this is the guy that hid this massive exhaust tunnel in the Death Star from all these different engineers. He could have given that data.
He can't because they're getting his messages and they're gonna kill him or something real quick.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That part. Why didn't he just? That would have been the whole glaring plot hole of the movie. Like, why didn't he just tell him that?
I mean, I understand if he tells her there's no movie.
Yeah, but also I just think that if he did tell it, maybe they would have saw it through the message and be like, look, all right.
So to kind of play up with that, let's say he's like, okay, there's a hole in the Death Star, right? Okay, but here's the thing. If you look at how big the Death Star is, it's literally like the size of Texas around. So he'd be like, okay, so it's literally like, here's this one part, like, and you don't know how you're coming at it, right? So like they need
like,
yeah. There's a hole on the top.
Usually in war, they do get schematics for things for what they need, because usually it's whatever they're gonna have is big, like whether it be a bunker, whether it be a palace, whether it be the Death Star. You need schematics the way to find the exact point. Or else they can't just say, yeah, take a left at this point and maybe take a right.
He couldn't have had another copy of the schematics, though. Like, if he's designing the plans, wouldn't he have a copy of the plans?
I think they were just so, on it that the Empire didn't want anything.
Like, he could make a copy and, have it on him when he dies, and in the death scene, he's like, in my pocket are the Death Star plans. Take them.
In defense of the movie for that, he only designed the weapon. He wasn't designing the station.
Yeah. Right,
so it's kind of
oh, that's fair enough. I misunderstood. I thought he was working on the whole thing.
I mean, they had a lot of people.
Because when they get him, they say work stalled.
I always figured the whole station worked as part of the weapon, and the fact they were living quarters was just kind of worked around the machine that was the weapon. I always figured the whole reason it's so big and spherical was because it had to be that big because that's how big the machine is.
I mean, it could be, but I'm just taking where they said work stalled, we need you back.
Otherwise, just stick that weapon on a regular starfighter.
Because that weapon's far bigger than a starfighter.
So I guess
that's why the Death Star has to be old.
We'll end our spoiler discussion on this. I just want to say for the box office though, Joe won. He was only 5 million off. So good job, Joe.
Internet cookie.
Got this shit.
I mean, Tom, could you imagine the recoil on that thing?
It would be like Men in Black when he shoots the cricket and flies through the window.
Wait, would kyber crystals have recoil?
I don't know.
They do now.
Because you never see them pop a lightsaber and it flings back.
That would be so
Or just shoots down.
That's what happens if a non-Force user tries to use a lightsaber. Finn just got very lucky.
But I have got to say, if you're still recording now, I mean, there are certain moments in this movie that do stuff for the universe at large that I loved. Like the whole Darth Vader thing. You didn't need to know anything about that castle. Just knowing that he has that castle on that planet says so much more than what.
I loved the tank.
Wait, didn't Han Solo use a lightsaber at one point in Empire? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to remember.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't have recall.
That's all I was wondering. I was like, yeah, I think Han Solo used it. I don't think Finn got lucky.
I thought they smell bad on the outside.
Well, so how does everyone feel about the red eyes?
I love
the red eyes. I'm glad that they're back.
See, I always saw them as black, so
I did when I was a kid because my toys were, but...
Here's the thing. I don't like it for, I think he looks more menacing when they're black because you can't tell there's anything there. It's what's in their center. But I love it for the purposes that it's a throwback to the original, first time they used it. Just it's when they...
Rebels has the red eyes as well.
Right. Yeah. Does anybody... Obviously, everybody's seen the stupid special editions, right? You know that scene where they added more stormtroopers in the desert?
Mm.
Yeah. They fucked up terribly because the stormtroopers that walk by are the ones that have black and white mouth.
Oh,
and they're supposed to have gray because the black and white wasn't around till the suits in Return of the Jedi. And it's that little detail that just fucking bugs the shit out of me. Because I'm like, how did you fuck up your own continuity? Like, Star Wars nerds hate that shit. Right. So if they didn't have red eyes, I would be fucking flipping out. So
that would be like if Rogue One came out and they were all wearing the First Order Stormtrooper outfits.
Right. It's like, wait.
Which is so weird that they do stuff like that, but they have these group of people saying, hey, this is going to work in continuity, this isn't, and stuff like that, yet they still miss some details sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
That's
they
what
have
happens,
like 10 people.
Wait,
what'd you say?
I said that you can see, it shows when people care.
Yep.
I mean, there's a thing that, I mean, I did an interview last week with Mike Carlin, who was the executive editor at DC for like 10 years or so. Like, it was a great interview, a lot of fun. It's coming out on CBC soon. But he said that his biggest regret in comics is there's one issue where the word Metropolis is spelled out huge across one page, and it's spelt wrong. And he said it's because you spend so much time around the material, seeing that word all the time, that your brain just fills in the gaps.
Yeah, I get what you mean by that. Just because there's some words that are so basic that I use every time, and then is this spelt right?
He says he's got that issue now in his coffee table, so at all times in his room, he sees his biggest mistake.
Like, I'm sure I get that on, like, I don't know, like a word like believe sometimes. I'm sure he gets it on Metropolis, because I don't even know how to spell it right now.
Metropolis, I've seen it happen with Smallville. Like, Smallville gets misspelled all the time.
Smallville, I spell that shit wrong every single fuck. I always have to like triple check. I'm like, okay, go to Google, make sure I'm spelling Smallville right.
I always find with Smallville, I end up putting a P in there somewhere because I'm used to writing Superman instead. Like, I don't know. It's weird. I always seem to put a P in Smallville.
So, thanks for joining us, everybody, I guess, for the Rogue One ripping at a new asshole podcast. But we'll be back.
We still enjoyed the film. Did we give it best score?
Love the shit out of it. I mean, I give it a 9. Like, it has all its problems, but my fanboy is going in there. But if I'm being a critical dude, I'm giving it like a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
I still enjoy Force Awakens over this. I think it's because I love more of the fantasy stuff with lightsabers and all that more than they do the war stuff.
There was just things that bugged me.
Like, I get you.
Really bad.
It's too much that bugged me.
But,
more than
like, that third act made up for a lot of the shit this movie pulled. So like, I'll probably go like 7.5.
The third act was good.
I'm amazed that my score's lower than Mitch's, to be honest. But oh well.